Hey there, this is Derek from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan, and we're looking at a 1996 Skyline GTS-T Type M. This one here, two-door coupe, turbocharged 2.5-liter inline six-cylinder engine, and this one puts out 250 horsepower in this generation. Same engine with some little changes, puts out 280 horsepower over there in the R34 version of it, but the 250 feels very good in this car. I used to own an R33 Skyline myself. Mine was an early model. And it does bring back memories. These are fantastic cars and feel excellent to drive, have a really nice engine. And this one's in amazing condition. It has authentic 56,000 kilometers on it. So very low mileage. Mechanically very good. Of course, it is a 25-year-old vehicle, so it does have some issues here and there. And this is a turbo timer, so let me just switch that off. And pull the key out because that sound is annoying. So we'll take a look at the condition of the car and compare it to the auction inspection sheet. This one was bought from auction here in Japan for export over to the USA. And there are a reasonable amount of R33s going to the USA. There aren't a lot of clean, stock condition, low mileage ones like this one. And so this is going to be a very unique vehicle once it lands in the USA. Okay, I want to point out a couple of things here. The hood doesn't line up very well to the fenders. The fenders line up very well with the doors on both sides, very well with the A-pillar on both sides. The fenders appear to be completely good. The hood kind of doesn't line up very well to both fenders and to this section of the grille over here. Now I looked the strut towers, no signs of repairs on either of the strut towers. There's no signs of any of these bolts being unbolted, like the headlight ones or the fender ones or even the hood one. So I'm not sure entirely why it's not lined up there. It could be somebody sat on the hood and bent one of the hinges or something, but there's no sign of this one being in an accident that I can tell. Okay, now coolant looks very good. Oil looks very good, and the engine has an eager feeling that you kind of don't get out of the higher mileage RB25s. They are an engine that, in my experience, tends to show its age by the way that it runs, and this one feels like a fresh, low-mileage, great condition engine. Also, bonus points, this is not dangling down or ripped, which is good, and the car has very low, what do they call it? Something vibrations? Non-vehicle vibrations? I don't know. Low vibrations. Let me just show you this hood here. Now, visually, you can't really see too much here. You're going to have to put your finger along it, but I'll show you anyway. The one on the other side over here, you can notice more. The hood is down a little bit more compared to the fender that's up a little bit more here. You'll notice that when I come around here, it'll look like the fender's closer than the hood is. And then the most apparent part is right here where the headlight and the grille line up. There shouldn't be that big of a gap. And so something has bent the hinges, and yes, there is that. Okay, here's what the car looks like. This is a late model one, otherwise known as the Kouki version. The Kouki version has a little bit sharper of headlights. You can usually tell because this is like a flat and then a corner instead of a round circle. In fact, the GTR version never got these sharp headlights. They continued with the early model the entire time. And then different front bumper with different lights in it. There is a side mount intercooler inside that ducting. These are the original wheels, original exhaust. The exterior has had both sides repainted, and I'll show you that in a sec. But for now, let's go over the auction inspection sheet. We'll talk about that. And I'll just quickly translate this for you. There's not a lot. So 1996 Skyline GTS25T Type M. The Type M refers to your monoblock style calipers. You get that. You might get something else too with the Type M. Maybe it's this spoiler, which is not as tall as the GTR is, but is a reasonably tall spoiler for an original spoiler of this era. And then you get the single piece rear, 2 pistons, 4 pistons in the front. Okay, and auction review 4, interior B. I'd say that that's fairly accurate, but the interior has a number of cigarette burns in it. I will say that it doesn't smell at all like cigarettes. I don't think it was the previous owner, but probably the owner before that was careless with his cigarettes. Okay, 552 kilometers. That is original mileage. Of course, 5-speed manual with AC. The AC works. Alloy wheels, power steering and power windows, and airbag. The alloy wheels are the original ones, which aren't the best looking wheels, but if you're going for original looks, they are cool to have. Okay, now report. Inside the dashboard makes a sound. It's the HVAC. When you change from the vent up here, your windshield vent, to any other mode, the flapper inside has issues with the gear in it. So the gear will skip a gear and it'll go, 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 go. I didn't try my hand at that, but I put it on the face version. I don't know why they call it the face version. I put it on the mode that it goes air toward your face. It feels fine. The AC does work, and that's the most common one, so that's probably the most important. Or maybe not. Maybe the windshield one's important. I'm going to have to check that now. I decided folding door mirrors don't work. It's true. They don't fold in or out. And this one, see, it's a little bit loose. Steering wheel and seat. Steering wheel wear. Seat cigarette burn and wear. There's actually a pretty big burn in the passenger seat. And then a couple of other ones. Small scratches, small dents, repair marks. Interior of the car has cigarette burn, underside surface rust. It looks really, really good for the underside. Nissans tend to rust a lot. This one is one of the best. One of the best 25-year-old ones that I've seen. Okay, we have W2 here. We have W2 here. That's both side panels have been repainted. The front bumper has a scuff and the back bumper has some scratches. It's actually very clean. The repaint looks reasonable. I'm usually a pretty big critic of the repaintings here in Japan. They tend to be done fairly poorly. This one's not the best repaint, but it keeps the paint clear and good. It's better than many of them that I've seen, and it's not something I would personally have a problem with if this were my car. The iconic round taillights there of the Skyline. And I'd say pretty good looks for this. Skylines look good. They drive good. They have four-wheel steering, which is a little bit odd, but it's not terrible. Okay, we've been around it. Let's take a look at some of the details. So the jack-up point here, typical of every Skyline that's ever been jacked up by the floor jack, has bent in. That is the U2 that they were talking about. Okay, the side panel here, have a look at the paint wave. If you know what to look for, you're seeing it right now, even though it is not focused. Yeah, the camera never knows what to focus on when we go for side panels. It is a shame. And I'm not good enough for the camera to set it to manual just for that section. I don't think you can in the middle of a video. Not sure. So the black has been worn off of the windshield wipers here. The gasket at the top of the windshield has cracked. A very, very common thing on Skylines of all of the inline 6-cylinder ones I said that wrong. What I meant was the R32, R33, R34 all have this problem. They crack along here. It has kind of like a factory opaque tint in the back here. It's kind of neat, kind of different. Okay. Taillights look good. These taillights look awesome because they're kind of 3D. You can see a bunch of rings in there. They look great when they light up. 31 and 34 didn't get two exhaust tailpipes, only the 33 did. That's kind of cool. And this is just really dirty. There's no actual damage there. Same with right here. In terms of damage, let me show you this too. This part here is cracked. Usually this bends up like that, and I guess someone tried to push it down and it cracked there. So, not a big deal. You get a little bit more wind noise inside the cabin probably when those get old, but it is an old car. You can deal with a little bit of wind noise. And then it said scuff on the front bumper. And yeah, the front bumper's been repainted. You can see a few like rock chips that were not fully prepped before painting. There's nothing that's terrible. There are a few minor scuffs along here. Okay, headlights are relatively good. They're a little bit faded, or a little bit damaged, I should say, from the sun. Okay, Skyline logo. Yeah, in Japan, all the cars would get their own logos. There's a little bit of fade on that because it's chrome. Okay, I think for the outside, that's basically it. It's pretty good looking. Pretty good. It wasn't cheap, but you always pay a lot for high mileage ones. And you can't get a high mileage one. Like, you can't just cheat and change your mileage on your car. A low mileage car is a low mileage car. And they run out. These weren't cars like Ferraris that people were keeping in good condition with low mileage, so it's really rare at this age to find one. The battery is behind that wall, which is kind of strange, but you can jump it from under the hood. There's like a jump spot. And then there is a spare tire under here. It's a space saver spare. This needs to be tucked in properly. It's not in there correctly. And this might be a little bit of a challenge to open up one-handed here. Okay, so no signs of any corrosion or anything underneath here. It is looking good. And yes, keep in mind that Nissans adore corrosion. They just eat it all up. And you'll find it in lots of places, particularly on the front strut towers. And that's not easy to fix. Here's something that I always thought was kind of interesting. Notice the fender comes up to here, but the trunk only comes up to here. So it looks good with the spoiler on there. You don't notice it so much. But if you were to take that spoiler off, it leaves a little bit. Now there is a company that makes it, or maybe multiple companies that make an aftermarket trunk spoiler that makes it level, but I believe that was done for airflow purposes in motorsport because Nissan was very successful with their R32, so they needed their R33 to be even more successful. And so I believe that they made the trunk lower than that, sacrificed a little bit of trunk space in order to have better airflow underneath the wing. Just my guess. Okay, here's something that's wrong. I don't know if you've seen in all of my videos, but I'm really picky about having the seats at the same angle. For some reason, the passenger seat on this one is stuck with that being the most upright position, which is driving me nuts for this car because this is way more lean back than I have my cars. I usually have them fairly up front, or like upright, I mean. I'm not sure why it is. Usually, so let me just run around to the other side. This video is going to get too long. So, you pull this up, and then you can get into the back. Pretty easy to get into the back of this because it was before cars were as safe as they are nowadays, which means you get much bigger doors, which also means you have a lot more space to get into the back. This is maybe my theory on why two-door coupes are less popular than they used to be. Partially because of safety, partially because rear seats are really annoying to get into on a modern two-door. Anyway, and then typically you can push this back and push it into place and it will stick in the most upright position, which in itself can be a little bit annoying because then you have to adjust it. This one sticks in this position. That's not standard for a Skyline R33. It's supposed to go upright more than that. Okay, here's the cigarette burn in the seat. Like I said, it is a large one. Your other cigarette burns. Where are they? So, one very minor one right here. Another one that's fairly minor right here. One that's fairly large, but it's on an aftermarket floor mat, which I personally really don't like. They don't even fit with this car. It kind of looks, because it cuts off there, kind of looks like it's meant for a left-hand drive car. Aftermarket pedals, not my favorite. It's funny, in a fully stock car, he was like, I need pedals and floor mats. Those two things, in my mind, make the car worse than original parts. And a turbo timer. Another thing that, in my opinion, makes the car worse, but I'm less strong about that than I am about floor mats and pedals. Seat is a tiny bit saggy there, and a tiny bit threadbare right there. Where was the other cigarette burn? Oh, here it is. Right here. So all the cigarette burns are fairly large. Maybe the guy smoked cigars or something, but like I said, you can't smell it inside the car, which is very nice. When you see cigarette burn on the sheet, you got to assume that's going to be smelly in the car. Skyline owners are like Delica owners and Hi-Ace owners and GTO owners and MR2 owners. They all love their cigarettes. And so if you find one, like, higher chance of having a smoked-in car when you buy this compared to, let me see, Prius, probably not a smoked-in car. Yes, definitely smoked-in. Sarah, I would say maybe not so much. 180, yep. Delica, yeah. And these are all my cars, by the way. I'm not showing anyone else's cars at the port. Although there are some, if you look in other areas, but everything on this side's all mine. Okay, in here. Yeah, it is weird we're doing it at the port here, but it's right before Christmas, and so we didn't get any of the cars sent to our place. 56,524 at the time of shooting this. Has an air freshener here and 2 marks for something that used to be mounted there. Aftermarket CD player and MD player. It's kind of cool that you can rock MDs in a Japanese car. It's still very popular to buy them with MD players because they were very popular here. Very clean, very nice, all of these. And they're all original. Steering wheel, great. These peel really badly. If this were my car, you can see the beginnings of peeling right here. If this were my car, I'd definitely get a cover for the windshield so that you can protect all of this otherwise fairly hard to find stuff. Okay. And yeah, because this is a Kouki model, I don't know if you know R33s that well. If you're watching this, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But the early models scratch big time on this piece, and this piece, and this piece, and all of this. They scratch within the first 5 years, and it's terrible. You can switch over to the late model ones. They do fit in, but the late model ones can be hard to find specifically for that reason. So nice to see a late model one, has nice and clean interior pieces. Very good. Okay, we're at 16 minutes. That's too long for this video. Nobody's going to be clicking. Nobody's going to be watching it. YouTube analytics are going to come jump on me. Hey, make more fun to watch your videos, Derek. Your videos suck. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.